Male gynecologists of Reddit, why did you pursue your job? Serious. Originally didn't know what I wanted to do when you entered medical school, and if you had asked me, OB/GYN was at the bottom of the list based off of everything negative I had heard. Third-year rotation was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. You get to do a little of everything: medicine, surgery, primary care, office procedures, and obviously delivering babies, which was awesome. On top of that, I lost my mother during medical school, who was my biggest role model. Being able to be there in the room with new moms during their happiest moments just kinda made it all click for me. Don't regret my decision at all. I get to do a nice mixture of office, surgery, and labor and delivery, which is its own unique thing. I like the busyness and the high intensity. And I like being a part of one of the biggest days of people's lives. The hours could be better though. Babies have no respect for other people's schedule. Edit. Fixed my damn typo. Male OB/GYN here. Lots of reasons. I am genuinely excited every time I get to be part of bringing a child into the world. As a dad to daughters, I feel responsible for making the world a safer place for women to seek healthcare. Women's health is full of mystery, which isn't the case in more studied clinical areas. Some reasons for this include women's health only getting about 1% of biopharma research funding, women being excluded from clinical trials until 1993, thank you thalidomide scandal, and research animal models almost exclusively being male until 2016. There are common women's health problems, like endometriosis, 10% of women, which we simply do not yet understand. Asan academic. I love the research component of my job. The list goes on and on. In short, I think it's the most rewarding area of medicine and wouldn't do anything else. Male OB/GYN in my 30s from Europe here. Several reasons, but maybe the most important and formative experience for me was when after med school I was living in the Horn of Africa for a couple of years. I witnessed some soul-crushing things, like obstetric fistulae, young women with advanced cervical cancer that could have been prevented easily, victims of sexual violence, complicated and traumatic deliveries. To put it mildly, women's health leaves much to be desired in a global context. I also met there some extremely inspiring and charismatic people, like Edna Adan Ismail and Catherine Hamlin. In general, I'm usually not very easily captivated by people, but these women were just something else with their endless kindness, charisma, and altruism. If on my deathbed I could say that I spent my life trying to do what they did, I could die peacefully. So when I, as a young doctor, had the opportunity to get a training in the most important medical specialty of all and do my small part in making the world a kinder place for women, I mean, who really would need to think twice? Seems like most of the comments are just people who know someone. Actual male OB/GYN here, for almost 20 years now. Live my job. Hours suck sometimes, but I'm doing something I enjoy. Get to do primary care, get to do surgery. My first revelation in med school was a lot of fields have a few things that are the bulk of their time, basically their bread and butter. Primary care? Lots of diabetes and high blood pressure. General surgery? Bowel resections and gallbladders. And tubes and tonsils. Loved cardiology, but couldn't stand the thought of doing 3 years of internal medicine or pediatrics to get to the point. But in OB/GYN, every day is different. Surgery, office, labor and delivery. Most of my patients want to be there because something is happening that they wanted, not have to be there because something is wrong with them. We help many people on some of the best days of their lives, but also help them through some of the worst. And my work is constantly under attack at this point. I'm in a red state, and I know people are leaving, but I stay behind because my patients can't leave and I can't abandon them. And if I can use my privilege as a middle-aged cis-het white male to get someone to listen to the impact of their decisions on my patients, I'm happy to do what I can. What's your solution? No genocides, for humanity, as it is estimated 10 billion humans living on Earth around 2075. Aren't most developed countries facing a decline in births? To me, it seems that if the countries of poorer nations start getting developed, we won't have a population crisis. Maybe that naive and hopeful thinking. Remove all the warning labels. We'll be down to 3 billion in no time at all. Cooperation. We don't need any solutions. As nations develop, their birth rates naturally even out. I predict we'll find an equilibrium somewhere, and once the rest of the world catches up technologically, things will stabilize. Genocide. AMN. Agriculture has always grown faster than population. Likely, nobody in your families died of hunger. That was the main cause of death a couple centuries ago. Considering the demographic density of Paris, the entire world could live in an area the size of Texas today. 25% more people barely makes it. Difference, so just chill, mankind. And take it easy on pollution, would ya? Fewer births. The average birth rate in the US and Europe is around 1.6 to 1.5, and you need a birth rate of over 2.1 for the population to grow. Outdoorsman of Reddit. What is the most terrifying experience you've encountered in the woods? I was backpacking with my dog and about 12 miles from the road and trailhead, so pretty far from people though popular enough that other hikers might be around, though we saw no one all day. About 2 a.m. my dog started this really low deep growl and wakes me up. Turn on my headlamp and see his teeth showing and he's right on top of me. I hear heavy footsteps, black bear, moose, near the tent. I leash my dog so he doesn't tear through the tent and the footsteps move further away, but keep circling my tent. All of my food and toiletries are hung in a tree in a bear bag, nothing in the tent to draw a bear's attention. I clap my hands, something is still slowly circling, not something a moose would do, and a bear might if he wanted. Food, but I've got nothing and a really big dog with me. I decide to step out of the tent with the leash in one hand and bear spray in the other, yelling, "Hey bear." The footsteps stop. Dog's nose is in the air telling me to look right, but nothing in my headlamp that I can see. Didn't hear anything run off, but it's quiet. I give it 5 minutes or so. Get back in the tent, and it starts up again, slowly circling maybe 50 feet from me. Maybe an hour later, I hear the footsteps wander off into the woods. At dawn, I take the dog and the bear spray and start looking for tracks. I find a clear path in the leaves that had been trampled, but no tracks. The dog's nose is on the ground, and I follow his lead, and he follows the loop around our campsite. We finally see a few human footprint, not shoe tracks, a regular size, not Bigfoot, bare human foot. Plus, yup, a human urd and toilet paper. Some a-hole was wandering around the middle of nowhere, near the tent and circling my tent for an hour or more, and left a dump for me to find. An after dark flash flood that roared through camp. 12 of us, 5 of them were sleeping in the canyon bottom. It's amazing nobody died. That was 32 years ago and I still sleep lightly and always pack clean underpants. When I was about 15 years old, me and some of my friends decided to go camping at a nearby lake. It was a 3 to 4 hour hike, and the nearest house was maybe 3 hours away. We brought some homemade wine and drank the whole night and ate poorly grilled hot dogs. Life was good. We all shared the tent, so it was crowded as in the tent, but we all fell asleep around 2 a.m. At 4 I wake up because I can feel someone running their hand down my forearm. Not that unlikely that someone brushes up against me since there wasn't any space to move around in the crowded tent. But thesis the arm that is facing the tent. So someone touched me from the outside of the tent. I sit panned, gets instantly horrified to see that all my friends are sound asleep in the tent with me. I put on my deepest voice and shout, "Whoever the you are, you need to leave," and a manly low voice answers me, "You should pack up your stuff and leave," not threatening or aggressive. Just calmly and in a dead kinda way. By now all my friends are awake and are just looking at me. No words, just pure horror in their eyes. I say, "Okay, we will go, but you need to leave. Hurry up." When we get out of the tent, this man, who I sucking huge by the way, has taken the little rowboat that was laying at the bank and gotten into it and is just sitting in the middle of the lake and watching us pack up our stuff and trying to get the away ASAP. We had to walk around the lake at our way back. Anda was just sitting there watching us. We never went back. Edit with some context. This was 17 years ago in a rural Scandinavian country. We have a free to roam law, so we were not trespassing. We knew our way around the small town we grew up. Everybody knows everybody. There have been no people missing and or found dead, never. There hasn't been a murder in generations. What old our parents, who at first tried to calm us down, and they said that we were probably overreacting. But the way he caressed my arm before he told us Togo was not normal. When we told them everything and what he said to us, we were told to never go back. After COVID we all met up and the subject came panned. We tried to do some digging. There are no houses or cabins anywhere near. The lake is way too small to fish in. When he was sitting dead center in his little boat, there was maybe 60 feet to land on all sides. No one has ever seen this man before or after. Thank you for all the upvotes. 14 years old, moose hunting in northern British Columbia, Canada with my dad. Feet got cold. so I got down from the tree stand to walk around, get the blood flowing, etc. Not 30 seconds later, my dad, very calmly says, "Mike, get back up in the stand." Being a teenager, naturally, I was defiant. 10 seconds go by, I hear, "Mike, get your uckings back in this tree stand, right ucking now." Now. To that point in my life, I hadn't heard my dad say, "UCK, like." Ever. So I figured, hey, maybe I should listen, and climbed back up the stand. My dad grabbed my face, and jerked my head to the right, where I saw an absolute oddam unit of a silver-tip grizz charging down the trail towards where I was standing. Another 10 seconds, and I could have been chow, depending on how good a shot my dad would have been. I was backwoods camping in Canada with my ex. Deep forest. We'd been out there a day or two and hadn't seen anyone. That evening we were in the tent playing cards and heard something in the bushes, making a giant racket. It was getting steadily closer. It got to the area we were in and stopped. We debated what to do but finally opened the tent. Both completely freaked out and found chickens. 3 chickens, en route home to an organic farm we didn't know was nearby. A few years ago, a teenager on the next road over went missing. They said he was autistic and ran away from home on foot. We're in a very rural area. They had cops and people walking in the woods for a couple weeks looking for the kid, never found him. The following summer, I found a jacket, some empty Pepsi cans, a knife, and a lighter, at the base ofa tree in the woods on our property. They came and looked again, didn't find anything else. It was confirmed to be his jacket. Absolute silence. No wind, no animals, nothing. 1 second there were all the sounds of nature, then nothing. Lasted for a few seconds that felt like an eternity. I have a honey hole about 3 miles deep into the national forest area where I hunt, usually get dropped off and hike in for a weekend. Hogs, white-tailed deer, black bears, panthers all are in the area. I've grown up around it. There isn't much I haven't seen out there. Last November I make the trek back in there and set up my hammock and get ready to camp out for the night so I can hunt from sun up to sundown. I laid down and maybe 10 minutes later hear the most blood-curdling screaming not far off. Bobcats, foxes and limpkins can all sound like screaming, but this was different. There was something about it that just didn't feel right. I sat up and grabbed my binoculars and started scanning the edge of the swamp. Caught a glimpse of what looked like the shape of a woman running full speed away from something about 200 yards out. Now mind you, I'm a good few hours walk from a paved road. Hell, even the service dirt road is maybe a little over a mile behind me and she's going in the clear opposite direction. Only thing out there is woods and eventually the river. Put down the binoculars and grabbed my rifle so I could use the scope if she was being chased by a bear or panther. Didn't see a AMN thing. Absolutely nothing. Brushed it off as something my mind made up. The sun was setting, so I decided to get some rest. Went to sleep clutching my rifle a little tighter than usual. Woke up the next morning and decided to go check the spot where I thought I saw her running. Found smallish barefoot footprints in the mud. Packed my hit up quick fast and in a hurry. Haven't been back since. As a Boy Scout, we found a bunch of scorpions in our Adirondack. We ran outside screaming our heads off, and then lightning struck a tree like 20 yards away. We turned on our heels and ran straight back to the scorpions. I was wild camping in the middle of a dense forest stand at around 2 a.m. I was woken up by a girl crying not too far away. I didn't know what to do, so I just waited. She carried on crying for like 15 minutes and then I heard a guy say, "Oh, come on now, let's go home." I didn't hear anything else after that. It scared the hell out of me. I was wild camping and testing out my new hammock. I usually take my dog with me, but as it was a new hammock I thought I'd go solo. I set up just before it got dark. I couldn't get comfortable in it for the life of me, so I get on the ground. UK, so nothing to eat me. Stupid o'clock in the morning, my dog was sniffing my ear. I thought, WTF, is he trying to doit's way too early? I remember my dog is at home and bolt upright. Turn in a torch and see the back end of a small badger running away. Must have been young. In the morning I see all the signs of a badger run that I was right in the middle of. No idea how I didn't notice it before. I had a bear approach my tent one night while my girlfriend and I were sleeping during a 7-day through hike. When you're sleeping deep in the woods, it's frequently the case that you hear little sounds that seem like big things. Then you worry a little as to whether or not what you are hearing is a big animal. With this sound, on this night, there was absolutely no doubting that what I was hearing was a large animal, and it was coming straight for my tent. All my food was hung in a tree nearby, but he must have smelled us. Not only did he come right up to the tent, but he started toe sniff at the edge of it. We could hear him sniffing. At this point we were still both in our sleeping bags. My girlfriend was petrified. I banged on the side of the tent and yelled real loud. The bear ran off into the woods. A few minutes PS sedan, we heard him clomping through the brush headed straight back to our tent. Then there was more sniffing, right at the exact corner he had sniffed at before. We yelled again and off he went running back into the woods. By this point I'd had enough. I grabbed the bear spray, climbed to my feet barefoot and naked with only my headlamp and glasses on. I was asleep with my contacts out. I got out of the tent as quickly as I could. When I stood up, I immediately saw his eyes off in the distance. When you're wearing a headlamp, animal eyes reflect directly back at you, but all you see are two bright spots. I picked up a stick and hurled it his direction while yelling, and he ran off. This was all on a section of the PCT in Washington. I was deep in the wilderness, but there were other campers at the lake that we were at. Wouldn't you know it, the other campers started cheering for my goofy naked ass? TLDR, I chased a bear away while shoeless and naked in the middle of the night.